In the fading orange hush of a dying sunset, the ranch fell silent except for the restless snorts of horses in the distant corral and the whisper of wind against the wooden beams of the old barn, where a young rancher paced anxiously, boots scuffing on dusty boards, heart pounding like hooves in a stampede. Moments earlier he had found her collapsed near the sagebrush fields, breath shallow, eyes clouded with pain, and when he turned her over gently, his stomach lurched. The bullet wound was fresh, ugly, and bleeding hard. He didn't know who fired or why, but he knew she wouldn't survive the ride into town. The doctor lived miles away, past rivers that swelled when moonlight kissed them and trails no sane rider crossed at night, especially with outlaws rumored to lurk like wolves with guns for teeth. So he carried her, refusing to let fear slow his steps, whispering, "Just hold on," as her eyelids fluttered like moth wings struggling against flame. Inside the barn, lantern light cast trembling shadows over piles of tools and coils of rope, giving the air a smell of leather, sweat, and desperation. When he laid her on a hay-covered bench and examined the wound, she gripped his wrist suddenly, voice thin as thread. "Easy. It hurts." He froze, spine rigid with guilt, eyes meeting hers, then said softly with a trembling breath, "It'll be over quick." But even saying it made his throat tighten, because nothing about digging metal from flesh was quick, and if he hesitated, she would bleed out. The bandits who shot her would be long gone by now. They didn't care who lived or died on this barren land, where justice creaked like rusted hinges and kindness was rare as rain. He grabbed his hunting knife, cleaned it with whiskey, then poured the harsh liquor over the wound. She moaned through clenched teeth, back arching, the pain like fire under her skin. Outside, coyotes howled as though cheering for death. But he ignored the icy chill crawling up his spine and steadied his shaking hands. Sweat beaded on his brow, trickling past grim determination carved onto his weathered face. He sliced gently, searching for the bullet lodged deep beneath torn muscle, feeling her tremble beneath his touch. Shadows danced crazily as the lantern flickered, catching glimpses of her pale lips, the fear in her eyes, and the stubborn will not to give in. In that moment, he hated the world that forced him to learn surgery at gunpoint. Hated how ranch life meant becoming doctor, sheriff, protector, and sometimes executioner. "Talk to me," he whispered, voice cracking, trying to keep her awake. She swallowed hard, voice barely audible, telling him of men in black coats demanding money she didn't have, her attempt to run, and the vicious laughter as gunfire chased her into darkness. His jaw clenched so hard it hurt. Rage flickered in his eyes like lightning over open plains, but revenge would come later. Right now, survival mattered. When he finally found the bullet, metal scraping sickeningly against the blade, her scream echoed off the barn walls like a wounded spirit. Birds scattered outside, flapping violently into the night. His hands trembled, but he forced them still. He pulled the bullet free, tossed it on the floor, and immediately pressed cloth hard against the wound. Blood seeped through, warm and thick like life leaking into the soil. Her breaths came shallow, rapid, terrified. He leaned closer, whispering, "Stay with me. You're doing good." She nodded weakly, tears sliding down her temples, soaking into straw. He heated a metal tool in the lantern flame until it glowed an angry red, then pressed it against the torn flesh to cauterize the wound. The smell of burning skin hit him like a physical slap, but he held firm while she writhed, voice cracking as she begged for the pain to stop. His eyes filled with moisture he refused to let fall. When it was done, she collapsed against the bench, sweat plastering hair to her forehead, breath shuddering but stronger. He wrapped clean bandages around her torso, hands gentle now, and for the first time since this nightmare began, relief softened his face. Outside, the coyotes quieted, replaced by the far-off rumble of thunder. Rain clouds gathered, promising fresh water to a land tired of dust, maybe cleansing bloodstains too. He helped her sit, propping her up carefully. "Thank you," she whispered, voice raw. He shook his head, voice hoarse. "No one deserves to die alone out here." That truth echoed between them, heavy as an unspoken confession. Hours passed. He brewed stronger herb tea to dull her pain, fed wood to the fire, and watched her sleep, breathing steadily. But guilt gnawed him. Had he been seconds slower, she would have slipped into death's silent embrace. As dawn streaked gold fingers across the horizon, he saddled his horse, planning to ride for the sheriff. Outlaws needed to answer. When she woke, eyes clearer now, she murmured, "Why help a stranger?" He stared at the rising sun, voice low. "Out here, we're all strangers. Until we give each other a reason not to be. She smiled faintly, and something in his chest loosened. He walked toward the barn door, paused, and looked back. You're safe here, rest. Then he rode off, dust curling behind his horse like smoke from a promise. Later, after justice returned to the soil and her strength returned, she'd remember the way he froze when she moaned in pain, how softly he spoke, how unwilling he was to hurt her even while saving her life. She'd carry that memory like a lantern in dark nights. And somewhere in the hearts of those who heard this tale, of bullets, bravery, and mercy, something would awaken, reminding them that heroism isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, trembling hands doing the right thing while fear screams at them to run. So if you enjoyed this journey through pain, grit, and hope under a western sky, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because more stories like this, heart-pounding, soul-stirring, and unforgettable, wait just beyond the next campfire's glow. And we want you riding with us on every trail, every dawn, and every fight worth surviving. Subscribe now and stay in the saddle. Days later, storm clouds rolled thick over the ranch as she stepped out of the barn, bandage snug but strength returning to her limbs. She found the rancher tightening the saddle on his horse, jaw tense, eyes tired from sleepless nights. Word had come that the outlaws who shot her were spotted near the canyon, and the sheriff needed help bringing them in. She hesitated, fear flickering like shaky firelight, but then quietly asked to ride along. The rancher studied her. Pain still lingered in her movements, yet resolve burned brighter. All right, but stay close, he murmured. Together they rode into rocky dusk, wind howling between cliffs like angry ghosts. Gunshots cracked suddenly, echoing like thunder. They dismounted behind jagged stone, bullets sparking off rock. The rancher fired back with calm precision, protecting her with his own body. She trembled but refused to be useless. She pointed out movement, warning him just in time as an outlaw flanked from behind. Moments later, silence fell, broken only by panting breaths. The sheriff arrived, dragging the surviving bandits off in chains. As dust settled, the rancher turned to her, pride softening his voice. You did good, real good. She exhaled, heart finally steady. The long ride home felt lighter, the pain duller, carried by gratitude instead of fear. And as campfire sparks danced beneath a midnight sky, she whispered that she'd never forget who stood between her and death. He only nodded, staring into flames, knowing some wounds heal faster when you're not alone. If you're still watching, hit subscribe. More journeys await.